Hello, it's Karen Burniston here with my monthly designer challenge video. Our theme this month is to make long slimline cards that have an autumn theme. So my card features a clear front and then a little bit of a modified assembly to the pop and swap die set so that I can make the upper swing arm swing out instead. Okay, to make this card, I started with a piece of cardstock that measures 9 3/4 by 3 1/2, and then I scored that at 1 1/4 inches from the left side for a small flap. Then I went stash diving to find a pattern paper in some fall colors, and I cut the largest crosshatch rectangle from our new Long Rectangles Crosshatch die set. Then I used the same die twice by cutting a partial and then sliding the die down and cutting the other side so that I would have a very small little crosshatch rectangle to fit the little flap. Okay, switching to the pop and swap die set, I'm cutting the main mechanism out of a lightweight brown cardstock. For the pattern paper, I'm going to glue in the small flap, but not the big rectangle just yet. Okay, there is a full assembly video on the pop and swap die set if you need it, but I'm going to fold it in the usual manner, which means finding the 4 vertical folds that create the pop-up box. Those are all mountain folds. So all 4 of the folds that go vertically get folded as a mountain, and that creates this little box. Okay, so for this upper swing arm, I'm going to make a modification. I'm actually going to cut off the swing arm temporarily and I'll glue it back on in a new position. So I just cut it kind of in line with that vertical fold. Now I want to press down the fold and then take my thumbnail so I can get it into the diagonal and work that back and forth a few times. Then I open it, I press the triangles to collapse into the piece. So that's usual pop and swap assembly, it's just that I've removed the swing arm. Then I can work that little adjustment fold to bring that little partial swing arm a little bit more flat. Okay, now switching to the other swing arm, it's the same type of folding. So I fold the vertical so that I'm able to work the diagonal through both layers, work that back and forth a couple times, open, collapse the triangles into the piece. Okay, so that is all the training that is required for the pop and swap. It is now ready to install inside the card. It is these back 2 panels around the triangles that get adhered into the card. And you can use any strong adhesive. I like my LINECO neutral pH adhesive in my fine tip bottle. We do sell both of those items on our website. And here's why I like to use a lightweight cardstock for the pop and swap mechanism. Because right now I am attempting to adhere a full fold inside a full fold. And that is going to have a tendency to want to pop off on one side or the other if you've used a very thick and heavy cardstock. So lightweight is easier for getting it kind of shellacked in there. Okay, and I'm not going to attach the other side yet. I just want to make sure that this left side is in there correctly. But you can see how it's going to work. And the reason I didn't put my pattern paper down first is because I'm going to incorporate a window into the pop-up so that you can see into the background, and I didn't want to see the tab of my pop and swap when I did. So I'm going to put the rectangle in now, but I've got to pay attention to where that triangle lifts up because I need to remove some paper to make that fit around it. So I'm just taking a pen and marking the points of the triangle, and then I am just going to rough in a triangle sort of on the outside of my pen lines, something like this. And, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to be way up underneath the pop-up, but I just want to get it in there so that the pop-up can still operate through the pattern paper. Okay, and once I have that glued in, then I just want to open and close the flap a couple times, make sure that the pop-up is not impeded by the paper. Okay, now I can connect the other half of the pop and swap in the usual manner. So the little tapered tab is going to glue over on the right side, but I'm going to do that by laying it flat on the left side. And I should see that diagonal fold. If it looks something like this, then it's not correct. I need to fold on the next one so that it's both the tapered tab and the little triangle next to it that are on top, like this. But it's only the tapered tab that gets the adhesive. And then I lay everything nice and flat, close the right side of the card against it, and then it'll pick up that tab in exactly the right position. So I am sometimes notoriously impatient when I'm waiting for my glue to set up, especially with a little pop-up tab. So I'm going to reach in there and hold that tab while I open it. And that way I can make sure that it doesn't pop off. Okay, so just usual pop and swap assembly with the one change that I cut off the swing arm at the top, and now I'm going to glue it back on, but instead of putting it back where it started, where it swings up to the top, it's going to swing out to the right. So it's just that little tab sticking out where I can add the adhesive. And then I'm just going to align my swing arm, the one that I cut off earlier, with the fold line, so that it's going to go into the piece and become vertical in the closed position, and then it'll swing out horizontally in the open position. The pop and swap die set includes a large rectangle die to go on top of the pop-up, but before I glue that on there, I'm actually going to cut a hole through the middle of a slim frame. So I'm using our new Slim Frames die set for this as well. So I've already cut and embossed and inked a frame, and then now I'm using the stitched rectangle from the Slim Frame set that's going to be the window, and I'm just using the frame temporarily to decide where that window needs to be. So I ran that through my die cutting machine, and then later on I'll be able to glue on that slim frame right over the opening. Since I'm planning on making a sculpture that includes a lot of pointy leaves, I wanted the back of my rectangle to be completely smooth. So I cut a transparency piece using that same big rectangle die out of the pop and swap, so it'll just fit perfectly behind there, and now it's smooth and everything will just slide across it. I will be using our Autumn Elements die set to cut a whole bunch of leaves, pumpkins, vines, and acorns, and I just wanted to show a technique I like to do, which is to take an ink pad and actually sponge ink onto a leaf die. And then when I run it through my machine, it will actually put that ink down into all of those vein marks. So I've cut a whole bunch of leaves and vines, and then I also assembled a turkey from our Feathered Animals die set. So I'm going to start with the turkey and put that on the right swing arm, so that in the closed position, he's sideways, but then as you open it, then it moves to vertical. From here, it's just a whole bunch of fun playing with leaves in different positions and figuring out how you want to fill in both of the swing arms. And if you want to, you can always use a temporary tape, like a washi tape or removable tape, to check the placement of your items so that you can open and close the swing arms and make sure that you keep the leaves inside the card, etc., that they don't crash into each other or create catch points. So it really is just a matter of checking things, gluing them into place, seeing how everything operates. I've noticed that the teal blue pumpkins are really popular this year, and so I wanted to have one of those in the background that basically is only revealed as you open it. You see it through the window. Okay, so at a certain point, it's probably just a good idea to get the upper rectangle on so that I can continue building my sculpture and really play with what is seen through the window when the card is closed and then what is seen as it opens. For instance, I didn't want to see the sideways turkey body when the card was closed, so I disguised that using a big maple leaf. I like to use a graphics plastic in like a 0.02. I'll put the link in the supply list in the description box for clear front cards. So I've cut that piece to 3.5 inches tall by 5 inches wide. So it's not going to go the whole length of the card. It's going to stop short. And I'm using a few strips of a strong double-sided tape to attach that to the front of the flap. I just find that dry adhesives work better with the plastic than glue. Then another little piece of the same pattern paper to cover over the top so that you don't see the tape. And then I added another few little elements just there to the front. Once I got my plastic on, I realized the back of the card was too flimsy for my liking, so I decided to just die cut another one of those long crosshatch rectangles for the back just to kind of stiffen it up. And I could have used a lighter color, which maybe would have been a smarter idea because then I could have signed the card on the back, but I guess I could do so with a white gel pen. Okay, back to my pop and swap die set again to make a layered rectangle set for the right side of the card. And then my idea was to have a leaf that would be glued down to that rectangle, but only on the side that hits the rectangle, and then let the left side kind of overlap the edge of the plastic a little bit so that it can essentially act as a closure. And then I just kept decorating. So I used word set 7 to make that welcome autumn greeting, and then just kept filling in with more leaves and acorns and pumpkins, including adding another one of those teal pumpkins behind the turkey so that you would have that little pop of color in the closed position. So for mailing, I would just use a number 10 business envelope, which fits Slimlines perfectly. If you check the description box below this YouTube video, you will find a link to the blog post, and that's where you'll find the photographs of this card, the supply list, and a link to all of the other great fall-themed Slimline cards by our very talented international design team. Thanks for watching. If you click on the website link, you'll go to KarenBurniston.com, where you can find out information about purchasing these dies, as well as links to all my other social media accounts. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel and check out some of my other videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.